What is up, awesome people? Shady Wags hanging out here at the Got Your Back 7 Days to Die Training Academy. And for a second there, I thought I had discovered the ability to use magic. While working on the wall defense video, I started placing iron bars down. And I kept placing more and more down, and these things kept attaching and extending out further and further. I could not figure out what was supporting them. I then began knocking out bars, and I got down to where there was one last bar. I knocked it out expecting the entire thing to come crashing down to the ground, but it was magic. They were floating in the air, and I could even build on top of them. I tried to recreate this effect over and over, and I failed every time. I just could not crack the code. Why were these things floating before? Was it a bug? Had I discovered some crazy zero gravity part of the map? I finally went back and analyzed the video, and it was nothing that spectacular. What I was doing was building over rocks, and they were supporting the iron bars and anything built on top of those bars. Still, it's pretty cool, and it got me thinking, would this be a viable base design? Would the zombies be able to get to you from up there, and what would they actually do? Would they attack the rocks? Would they just kind of stand in one place? I found a location that had plenty of rocks around, and I built a concrete wall that ran the length of those rocks and then began extending the iron bars over the rocks. Once I had the desired length and width, I broke out the first row, and there we go, a seemingly floating base. I continued by building pillars on top of the iron bars and then building blocks on top of the pillars until I had an entire floating base. Sadly, I found out the hard way. You have to be really careful when you're building like this. I hit something wrong and the entire thing came crashing down with me on top of it. Determined as ever, I started over, but this time I went more simplistic, opting for wood frames, wood blocks, and beams. And finally, here is the finished product. I think this thing actually looks pretty cool. The way into the base is off of this ramp over here, and you can use a mini bike to get in as well. There is a ladder up to the main floor, and on that main floor is a small room. So the only thing left is to find out how a horde will attack this thing. I started the day 7 attack, and there are quite a few flaws to this base design. The first being, it is too close to the ground. Where I have it right now, it is 2 blocks up, and that really should be maybe 3 or 4 blocks. They kept piling up on each other, and that enabled them to hit the iron bars. Also, anything close to the ground, like the wooden spikes I put down, they could climb up on those and make their way up onto the base. The second thing is the beams. They should not be on the edge. And that's how spider zombies were climbing up into the base. Third thing, I should have extended the iron bars out over every rock as they were climbing up on the rocks and into the base. And the last thing is the biggest thing. After the horde attack, I jumped down, and you can see they have absolutely destroyed the ground underneath. And I was not sure what they were swinging at the whole time they were down there while I was firing on them, but it was the rocks, and they damaged them pretty good. So a floating base does look awesome, but it would not stand the test of time. They would eventually break those rocks, and the entire thing would come crashing down. After watching this, though, I had an idea. How about taking that same concept, but instead of rocks, using pillars? After a little bit of building, this is what I came up with. This time the ground is covered in concrete. I'm using concrete pillars that are set further inside, and the iron bars are now 3 blocks off the ground. I went ahead and tried this again with another 7-day horde, and guys, I think this may be the best base design yet. They were zero threat to me. I mean, it was really like shooting fish in a barrel. They did do a little damage to the pillars, but I didn't have any spikes down at all. If that bottom concrete layer had been covered in spikes, I don't think they would have even done a quarter of the damage they did to the pillars. While this is not as cool looking as the floating base, this one will stand the test of time, and it's easily upgraded and expanded by dropping down more concrete and pillars. And I think the only thing that would be able to threaten you are the bees and possibly the police zombies. I thought this base tower design was so good that I decided to challenge myself to try to create a similar design within the first day of game time that could withstand the 7th day horde. So go check that video out. I think you'll be interested by the results. And in that same video, I created a massively upgraded version of the tower, and I put it up against a 105-day horde. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this video useful. If you did, I really would appreciate a thumbs up. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.